Welcome to the Real Lost Boss podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Real Lost Boss podcast. In this episode, things I started doing that I still do now. ... on this weight loss journey. I didn't put that bit into the title because it would have been absolutely mahoosive. But yes, that is what we are talking about. Why? I know it's cliche. I know I talk about it a lot, but you have to start seeing your weight loss journey as a complete lifestyle change. The day you start your weight loss journey, you've got to see it as this pivotal moment in time where all the bad habits that you've got in your lifestyle that have led you to have the weight issue you've currently got, we're getting rid of them. We're going to start eradicating them and replacing them with permanent new good habits. That is exactly what I've done, and that is what has led me to have the success that I have had. Look, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be this absolute perfectionist when it comes to weight loss. I'm not. There is no such thing as a perfect weight loss journey. But through the initial phase of my weight loss journey, which I started in February 2014 and it ended in November 2017, I lost about 250 pounds, and I have at least maintained that initial loss for over 7 years and counting. A successful weight loss journey is not about just losing a certain amount of weight over a short period of time. For me personally, it is about losing weight, hitting your goal weight, and maintaining your losses, which is where so many people struggle. And you ain't going to maintain those losses if you haven't created these new, good, permanent, healthy habits. Most of us have tried to lose weight in the past by doing a fad diet. And a fad diet will basically replace old bad habits with new bad habits that will just put you into a calorie deficit. And two wrongs will never make a right. Yes, you might lose some weight on a fad diet, but will it be a permanent change? For most people, I'm not saying for everyone, but for most people, it never will be. This is why we end up on what I call the roller coaster of weight loss. Lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. And it is time to step off that coaster onto the platform and just get on the smooth choo-choo train, you know, in the little kids bit that just ticks around. There might be the odd bump here and there, but no massive ups and downs. And you're only going to do that by permanently replacing those old habits. And that is what I have done. Some of the things I started doing at the start of my weight loss journey, yes, I don't do them exactly the same. They have evolved over the years, but the basics are still in place. And that is what you also need to do. Now, the things that I've put in place, I'm not saying they're necessarily going to work for everyone out there. You've got to find, in some ways, your own way. But I'm hoping you will take some inspiration from what I'm saying, maybe start implementing some of these things, and you can also lose weight, hit your goal, and maintain those losses, because that is what a successful weight loss journey is all about. Right, number one, I started looking at calories. Never had. Don't know why. I was first taken to the GP by my mum through a recommendation of my primary school in 1989. And the first thing the GP said to me and my mum was, Neil needs to go on a calorie-controlled diet. Did the GP then mention how to control calories in terms of looking at numbers? Absolutely not. He sent me off to a dietitian, and the dietitian just put a big list up and went, Neil can't eat this, Neil needs to start eating that. Great. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully understand by cutting out a lot of the foods she told me to cut out and replacing it with a lot of the food she told me to eat. That was, yes, controlling calories, but let's cut out the middleman here. Let's get to the nitty gritty. And throughout the years, I've gone on, loads of different fad diets. I remember when I first went on Slim Fast and I was reading through all the little small print and the bump and this, that and the other. And it said on there, will help or may help with weight loss as part of a calorie controlled diet. Again, I had no idea what calories were in a Slim Fast shake. It was literally shake for breakfast, shake for lunch, bit of chicken and fish and veg for your tea. That was it. Not 1 calorie was mentioned. So when I started my weight loss journey, I thought, you know what? Because I got into it with this mindset, whatever I've done in the past that hasn't worked, I'm not doing it. I need to take on a full new approach. Let's look at calories. And I'm a numbers person. Numbers just work for me. So I started looking at calories on a day-to-day basis. I gave myself a calorie allowance. Through sheer potluck, really, it ended up being a pretty healthy, sustainable allowance. How did I get that? I have talked about this before, but basically, I looked at a nutritional label, and in 2014, it recommended calories for males, and it recommended calories for females. Now it's kind of lumped together, and it just says recommended for an adult. I assume that's to be politically correct, but it said an average adult needs 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. I'm nearly 6'5", I'm 37 stone, I'm not the average adult, I'll have 2,500 calories a day. And that is what I did. And I started looking at calories on a day-to-day basis. I still do that now. I've done it for the last 11 years. When I first started, it took a bit of effort and a bit of, more thinking, I'll say, than what it does now. Now I just see food like, if you've ever watched The Matrix, depends how old you are, I suppose, but I see food the way, Neo sees The Matrix. I just see numbers. And that's because I've done it for so long. But it's become a permanent addition of my life. And it is basically cutting out the middleman. Calories are what controls our weight. Well, calories are what controls our body fat. And our body fat will control our weight over longer periods of time. Obviously, short periods of time, we can gain water retention, we can lose food weight and this, that, and the other, but you get the gist. So, I started looking at calories on a day-to-day basis. I still do that over 11 years later. How did I look at those calories? I created a calorie structure. I didn't know what MyFitnessPal was in 2014. I don't even know if it was out in 2014. So instead of using an app in 2014, I used a calorie structure. I basically split my 2,500 up into chunks for main meals and snacks. And I basically went, 400 to 500 calories for breakfast, 500 to 600 calories for lunch, 600 to 800 calories for my tea, 200 to 300 calories mid-afternoon snack, 200 to 300 calories evening snack. That's kind of how I split things up. I still stick to a calorie structure now. Pretty much the same one as I did in 2014. 400 to 500 calories for breakfast, 500 to 600 for lunch, 600 to 800 calories for my tea. And then I don't quite split mid-afternoon snack, evening snack. I just have a pot that's left over. And if I need to use any extra calories, maybe to top up a main meal or to have a snack, that's what I dip into. I'm nowhere near as rigid as I was in 2014. Maybe a little bit over-restrictive with it. I was literally has to be bang on, between 400 and 500. Like I say now, if I want a breakfast that's 600 calories, I'll take the calories out of my little extras pot. If I want a lunch that's 700 and so on and so forth. But I still stick to a calorie structure, and it is what I still give my clients because it's just a really handy tool to structure your eating, to stay in control of your calories. And it stops calorie counting getting overwhelming at times where, it stops things like, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I've eaten all my calories for the day. Well, no, not if you stick to your structure and things like that. Also, as part of that structure, I've always had lower calorie days and higher calorie days. Now, when I started my weight loss journey, my higher calorie days were Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And I called them treat nights. So breakfast was always the same 7 days a week. Lunch was the same 7 days a week. But what I used to do on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday was I kind of had what I want within reason. I wasn't crazy. And I just counted it as 800 calories, even though it was way more. So on a Wednesday, found one of my favourite takeaways ever is a chippy tea. And it was a family tradition. Most Wednesdays, we'd have a midweek chippy tea. I didn't want that to change on my weight loss journey. So what I started to do was, had a chippy tea, but I had it with, I'm losing, not my train of thought. I am losing my train of thought. Compromise, not sacrifice. That was it. The mindset I always went into things with, I need to make some compromise. I don't need to feel like I'm sacrificing. If I feel like I'm sacrificing, it feels like I'm missing out on things. And I don't want to feel like that. So I just need to make some compromises. So whereas 37 stone Neil chippy would have been large fish, large peas, large chips, battered sausage, barm cake, gravy, Neil's new chippy order was a large lightly battered fish and a large peas. Last Wednesday of every month, I'd allow myself a handful of chips. I'd also have on the Wednesday night a bag of crisps, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours after my tea, and a chocolate bar. That was my treat night. So I just counted that as 800 calories, when in reality it was probably about 1,400 calories. But give me that little bit of freedom. Friday night, my treat night was a couple of pints down the pub. Sunday night, it was a Chinese, but instead of ordering a Chinese that'd feed a family of 4, just for me, I ordered a main course and rice. Last Sunday of every month, same treat, handful of chips. No, I used to get a starter. So I might have had some spring rolls, or I might have had a couple of pieces of prawn toast or something like that. I still do that now. I still do higher and lower days. Now, that's evolved over the last 11 years, because why I used to do Wednesday, Friday, Sunday was because I wanted to space out what I called my treat night. So I never went more than 2 days without looking forward to having foods that A, I enjoy, and B, having a few more calories, a bit less restriction. I kind of realised that I found it very, very easy to control my calories Monday to Friday when I was in that 9 to 5 routine. So that has now evolved into 5 lower days, 2 higher days. Again, I never used to look at banking calories. I just used to stick to 2,500 calories 4 days a week and kind of stick to my calorie structure Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays, but then just give myself that extra little bit of freedom in the evenings. Now, through using calorie counting apps, originally MyFitnessPal, migrating over to NutriCheck in January 2022, I basically see my calories as a daily average, eat a bit less than that Monday to Friday, and whatever I bank Monday to Friday, I take into a higher calorie weekend where I can have 1 or 2 treat nights or treat days, however I want to use those calories. So at the start of my journey, I started implementing some food freedom, some flexibility around eating with some calorie control, and I still do that today. And that also evolved into still enjoying some of the foods I loved. I knew that if I went into that over restriction mode, which I'd done all my life when trying to lose weight, it didn't work for me, because 2, 3, 4 weeks, couple of months down the line, I'm hankering, I'm craving. There's also going to be situations crop up where you need to have a few more calories. Life isn't just set down this narrow corridor. You might be on your weight loss journey and you might be like, no, I'm never going to have a takeaway ever again. Well, you know, what happens if it's your wedding anniversary or your kids' birthdays and they want to have a takeaway? What are you going to do? Sit there with your lettuce wraps while they're enjoying a Chinese? I know you can do that, but you're just going to be miserable. We don't want to be miserable. I'm a foodie. I love food. Yes, I've used food in the wrong way in the past. I've been a food addict. I've been a massive emotional eater. But food brings me joy. I used to think food brought me joy all the time. It actually didn't. But even when I was 37 stone, food did in a way bring, you know, I've always enjoyed eating is what I'm trying to say. That's never changed. I love food. It puts a smile on my face. And don't get me wrong, I never thought this would happen, but a lot of healthier foods or lower calorie foods, certainly the foods I make, put a smile on my face. I enjoy or try and enjoy every single thing I eat. But, you know, I'll never apologise for the fact that certain things like a great big whacking pizza or a Chinese takeaway or a chippy tea or a really nice ice cream sundae doesn't put a bigger smile on my face than eating a tub of Halo Top. I still enjoy low-calorie ice cream. Halo Top, by the way, isn't the best out there, but peanut one from Aldi, absolutely sensational. It's our addiction at the moment. Depending on when you are watching or listening to this podcast, if it's available, go try it. You will not be disappointed, obviously, if you like peanuts. But anyway, you know, I love that low-calorie peanut ice cream from Aldi. It's absolutely sensational. But I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, I'd much rather have that than a 1,200 calorie tub of Ben & Jerry's. But I do enjoy them both. I'm going off on a tangent here. Anyway, I've always built in some of the foods I love. I enjoy going to the pub having a couple of beers. I did that throughout my weight loss journey. Instead of going on 12-hour benders, I went out for 2 hours. Compromise, not sacrifice. I love a chippy tea. Instead of ordering, you know, enough fish and chips to feed a small army, I just had a fish and peas. Sacrifice. No, compromise, not sacrifice. I'm still having a bit of a chippy tea. I'm just not going crazy. Right. Let's move on from that sort of calorie structure thing. Actual overall diet. Something I've done from the start of my journey was implement a lot of protein into my diet. Don't get me wrong, the reasons for that have changed because I have a lot more knowledge and education around nutrition 11 years on. When I first started my weight loss journey, a friend of mine was in amazing shape, right? One of those physiques, yeah, where you're literally like, yeah, I'd like to look like him. I know we should never talk like that. And in all honesty, it doesn't mean you're going to be any happier looking like that. But still, sometimes we look at people and go, yeah, I wouldn't mind looking like that. And when I'm 37 stone, he was definitely very influential to me. And I remember him telling me, protein melts fat. It doesn't, right? Being in a calorie deficit melts fat. Right, it doesn't melt fat, but, you know, consuming less calories than you burn is how we get rid of body fat, not by eating tons of protein. But he said, eat loads of protein, your fat will melt away. He obviously knows what he's talking about because this is how we, you know, people that look great, we do put them on a pedestal, even though they're talking absolute nonsense. And he was talking absolute gobbledygook. But he said, eat loads of protein, it'll melt your fat away. I'm on it. And I started to consume a lot of protein. And I started to lose a lot of weight. And I put 2 and 2 together and got 5. Now I understand that him telling me to eat a lot of protein basically massively helped to suppress my appetite because protein is the most satiating macronutrient. That in turn massively helped me control my calories so I could stick to a calorie deficit and lose weight. But whatever the reasoning at the start, I started to eat a lot of protein and I lost a lot of weight. Guess what I do now on a day-to-day basis? I eat a lot of protein. Now, like I say, I fully understand why eating a lot of protein on a day-to-day basis now really, really helps because it fills you up. But I started it from the start of my weight loss journey and people used to take the rip out of me. Yes, I started going to the gym and training, but I'd be in the office having a protein shake. I'd be, you know, going out with mates, go to the cinema. I'd take a protein shake to the cinema. And my mate's like, oh, you think you're Mr. whatever he's called, motivator now, don't you? Having a protein shake in the cinema. And I'm there, look, this melts fat away, mate. So I'm going to drink it while I'm also having a little bit of popcorn watching a film. It wasn't, it filled me up, you know. Having that protein shake in the cinema probably stopped me having, you know, a full tub of popcorn and I might have just had a quarter of one. I have no idea. But anyway, started eating a lot of protein. Like I say, what's evolved over the years is I've gone through phases of, you know, very, very specific protein shake mid-morning, mid-afternoon, evening, fit it in with my calorie structure. Then I got into the habit of tracking macros and I set myself a protein target and had to hit it every day. I scrapped all that nonsense in COVID, to be honest with you, because whether in COVID, I didn't track anything really for a good few weeks. I still track my calories, but I stopped getting involved with protein. And I just thought, well, there's no point. I'm not going to a gym. I'm not training. I was training, but I'm not lifting heavy weights. What's the point in eating a specific amount of protein? Still had a protein shake here and there, still prioritised protein with all my main meals. And it didn't make a difference to my physique. It didn't make a difference to whether I was building muscle or not. So I was just like, or losing muscle. So I was like, why am I? And it was flipping hard work to track macros. So I just stopped doing it. I don't do it now. I literally track my calories and prioritise protein as the main thing for anything that I eat. That gives me a high protein diet that fills me up. It also gives me enough protein to build muscle from training in the gym. And it keeps things nice and simple. High protein diet at the start. Still do a high protein diet now. Next, we are going to talk about weight loss breaks. Yeah. 5 months into my weight loss journey, I was challenged with going on my first holiday. I say challenged with going. I wanted to go. It wasn't a challenge to go. I was still quite overweight and my mobility wasn't the best. But when I say challenged with going on my first holiday, my mindset was still quite fragile and I was panicking for weeks running up to it because I didn't know what to do. Do I go on holiday and stick to my calorie structure? And I was going to see a friend of mine in France. I'd not seen him for years. And I knew he was a bit of a big boozer and this, that and the other. And I was just like, what do I do? Do I just go up there and say, look, I'm on this weight loss journey. I hope you can see a bit of a difference in me. I've got 2,500 calories a day. I allow myself 3 treat nights. So I'm going to allow myself 2 treat nights out of the 4 nights that I'm here. But the other 2 nights we need to rein it in. And then I was like, well, why don't I, instead of having 2,500 calories a day, why not give myself 3,500 calories a day? Just a little bit of freedom and, just have a couple of beers here and there and just go on to Cokes if we go for a night out, go on to Diet Cokes and stuff like that. In the end, I toed and froed with it and I went, do you know what? Just go on holiday. Just enjoy it, right? Compromise, not sacrifice. I think that's the title. That should have been the title maybe for this podcast. Maybe that's the title for another podcast. I might write that down. But, just go and enjoy it. Don't be 37 stone Neil over there, but give yourself a little bit more freedom than weight loss Neil. And I did. And I went and had one quite heavy night out. The rest of the time, quite, a few beers here and there. Made some slightly better food choices when we went out for a meal. The odd meal, just went for it and enjoyed it. And I'll be honest with you, I can't tell you if I gained anything. Well, I will have gained something, but I can't tell you what I gained when I came back because I didn't weigh myself. I didn't weigh myself for the first 10 months of my weight loss journey because I didn't have a scale that would weigh me because I was too heavy. So I don't know if I lost weight or not. All I know is when I did weigh myself 10 months into my journey, I'd been on 2 holidays, enjoyed loads of bits and pieces, friends' birthdays and a few nights out here and there, a lot less than what I did. Compromise, not sacrifice. And I lost 100 pounds. And that sort of told me, do you know what? You can go on holiday. You can enjoy yourself. But I did say to myself from that first holiday, when you go on holiday, the day you're back on it. And I've done that pretty much, or try to have that mindset as much as I can from every other holiday that I've ever had. At the time, I didn't feel like I needed a weight loss break. Now I understand how important they are. Weight loss needs to be part of your everyday life. You need a break from your everyday life. It's why we look forward to a weekend. It's why you might look forward to the kids going to Nan and Grandad's overnight the odd time. It's why we look forward to annual leave from work. It's why we look forward to going to Tenerife for a week. It's just a break from our everyday routine. It doesn't mean we don't enjoy our everyday routine, but whether you enjoy your everyday routine or not, you need a break from it. I love my job. I absolutely love my coaching. I love making content. I love sitting here recording these podcasts, but I do need a break from it. I need to chill out every now and then. your weight loss is no different. And it's not because, oh, you need to go on a weight loss break to trick your body back into losing weight and all that nonsense. That is nonsense. You don't need to do that. You just need a weight loss break because you need a break from the norm. Imagine if you went to work, and some of you might do this, 7 days a week, week in, week out, without a break for a year. 6 months in, you'd be absolutely like, you'd be done in. You need a break. Your weight loss is no different. And we also need to accept there's going to be times where we can't stick to a calorie deficit. Or if you do stick to a calorie deficit, it's going to be really hard. And then you'll start having regrets. And we don't want those either. So yeah, started having weight loss breaks. So 5 months into my weight loss journey, went on that holiday, enjoyed it, a little bit of compromise. As soon as I got back, straight back on it. 3 months later, went to Spain with a mate for 9 nights. Enjoyed it, a little bit of compromise. I think when I went away for 9 nights, I think I had 1 day on it, 1 day off it. So I had 1 day drinking soft drinks, Diet Cokes, quite, conscious about what I was eating. 1 day, right, it's my day off it, beers by the pool, out at night time, big steak and chips, maybe go and do a bit of a, later night out. Next day, day off it, day on it, day off it, things like that. Christmas, the first Christmas I got to, again, what am I going to do over Christmas? Do I just, enjoy Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, back on it? And I didn't. I went, do you know what? It's Christmas, make some better choices the best you can. Fully enjoy Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, maybe New Year's Eve. But as soon as the 2nd of Jan comes, straight back at it. And that's what I did. And I've done that throughout my journey. How's that evolved now? Well, I kind of set weight loss breaks, and this is how I coach some of my clients. I allow myself surplus weeks, I allow myself maintenance weeks. The rest of the time, if my goal is weight loss, I have deficit weeks. And as long as I have a lot more deficit weeks than I do maintenance or surplus weeks, the scales are always going to go in the right direction. And I've never counted or looked at calories or stuck to calorie allowances on holiday for the last 11 years. And I ain't going to start now. Let's get into some movement. First thing I started doing when I started my weight loss journey was going for a walk. I never realised how good walking was, how important it is, and how easy it is to actually implement into your everyday life. It's the easiest thing to implement out of anything movement based. And why I started walking was a friend of mine lost quite a bit of weight. And like a lot of people, I always had this association, weight loss, you had to exercise. And I remember chatting to a mate of mine. This was a few years actually before I started my own weight loss journey. And I said, so what are you doing to lose weight? And he was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And he said, I just go for a daily walk. I went, what do you mean? He said, well, I just started going for a daily walk, 20 minutes. And he was quite overweight when he started. And he said after a couple of weeks, 20 minutes was a breeze. In fact, I was doing it a bit quicker than 20 minutes. He said I was doing this loop. And he said it took me about 20 minutes. And he said after a few weeks, this loop was taking me 15 minutes. So I did a bit longer. Then I did a bit longer. Then I did it twice a day. And he said it just evolved from there. And but he said, yeah, all I do is walking. So I was like, right, well, if he can lose weight just walking, I can lose weight just walking. And that's what I did. Now, at the start of my weight loss journey, my mobility was shocking, right? I was bedbound some days. I had good and bad days with my joints and my aches and pains. And bad days, yeah, I was struggling to get out of bed. Good days, though, don't get me wrong, I still found moving hard, but I could move about a little bit. And I went for a walk. And the walk I did, I actually filmed this maybe last year or the year before. I did it as content and I showed the loop I did. I can do that loop now in 5 minutes probably. When I started my weight loss journey, it used to take me 45 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to give myself rest points. So this loop had benches on it. And I used to walk to one bench, have a rest, then walk to this other bench, have a rest, then walk to this other bench, have a rest, and then go home. And I started doing that. And I did it on days where my joints were playing ball, days where I was really struggling to move, no pressure on myself. Chill your beans today. Maybe you might feel up to it a bit later on. And if I did, I'd go. And I started to notice that it did get easier over a few weeks. So I started doing the loop twice. Then I'd do it in the morning, then I'd do it in the evening. After about 4 or 5 months, I could actually walk for about 20 minutes quite freely. Yes, I will have lost some weight, but I was still well over 30 stone. I always put my mobility issues down to my weight. Trust me, it really didn't help. Why I had a lot of mobility issues at 37 stone was because I used the excuse of being 37 stone not to move much. If you don't use it, you lose it. So people that spend a lot of time sedentary, like I started doing, certainly from being like late 20s, early 30s, your body weakens. So then when I did want to walk, it flipping hurt. But my body adapted back to moving more and it got stronger and I got fitter, right? And the important thing was I always progressed. But it got to a point about 3-4 months into my weight loss journey, I always went for a daily walk. And I do that now. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. From 2017, we improved the accountability of that by getting a dog. And now we've got 2 dogs. So yeah, don't get me wrong. There are days where I'm like, I can't be bothered going out today. It's early winter, but the dogs don't care. And they're looking at you and they want to go. So it drives me on. But I started walking as best I can on a day-to-day basis at the start of my journey. I still walk on a day-to-day basis now. I got my first fitness tracker, which was a really rubbish, I say rubbish, a really basic, sorry, not rubbish, that's wrong to say that, a very basic Fitbit in 2016. And that's when I started looking at steps. I then evolved in 2017 maybe into an Apple Watch. And this thing has never been off my wrist. And yeah, something I'm really conscious about. Like I say, start my weight loss journey, it was doing these little 5-minute, what's 5 minutes now, 45-minute sort of very slow pace, very short walks. And that's evolved now into doing at least 2 25-minute dog walks a day. Longer at the weekend. Sometimes we go to the beach. Sometimes it'll be on a treadmill in the gym. But I always do a specific walk. Not just movement around the house, not just movement around the supermarket. I always go for a specific walk every single day. Exercise. I evolved from just walking to do some regular exercise. When I felt confident enough, I had a really bad mindset around exercise when I started my weight loss journey. I thought you had to do it to lose weight. So although I was going for these walks and I knew it was beneficial, I still couldn't get out of my mind that I needed to exercise as well. 2 months or so into my weight loss journey, I joined a local gym and I started going. And I just used to go on an exercise bike. And it was the most boring, mundane thing I'd ever done. But I went twice a week for a good few weeks. And I got to the point, like a lot of people do after doing something very boring and mundane in a gym, where the motivation had gone. I was waking up in the morning and I was just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. It's boring sitting on a bike. Yeah, I put my headphones on. In them days, there wasn't really the internet to... I say in them days, it was only 11 years ago, but I didn't really have... I know YouTube would have been about then, but, you know, nowadays people take their iPads and put them on exercise and watch like full Netflix series while exercising. It wasn't really that. And yeah, I just found it a bit monotonous and a bit boring. And I woke up one morning and I really didn't want to go. And I went, right, come on, go. Let's do 15 minutes on the exercise bike and let's do 15 minutes of something else. You're still going to go. So I did. And why I only went on an exercise bike was a friend of mine who went to the gym quite a bit. And again, because they didn't really have a weight issue, I gave them a bit of a God complex and just listened to what they said and said, you just want to do cardio. Once you've lost your weight, then you can lift weights. And that stuck in here. So I'd wanted to try lifting weights from really the day I'd first joined the gym. But listen to this friend who I thought knew what they were talking about. And I don't mean this disrespectful. That's what they've been led to believe. Listen to my friend and yeah, I just did cardio and it's flipping boring. I find it boring now. I still do it, but I do 15 minutes like I started doing then. Then I go on to doing the stuff that I enjoy, lifting weights. And a guy that went to the gym, I used to go really early in the morning, and I knew him from, he used to play pool for a local pool team. And I just went over to him. I did me 50 minutes on the bike, and I went, Brian? He went, yeah, you're nearly all right. Yes, seen you joined here. I went, yeah. I want to start lifting weights, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you give me a couple of pointers? And he was like, yeah. He said, just do the basics. And that's still sat in here now. And he had a great physique, and he was right. He said, just do the basics. He said, you've got these machines. They'll do the movement for you, right? And he said, if you're using dumbbells, bicep curls, shoulder presses, simple. It's like, okay. I think he was fobbing me off. Not fobbing me off. His advice was great, but he didn't go into any more detail because he was like, I don't want to get wrapped up with this. I just want to train. But I was like, okay. And I think I spent the next month doing 15 minutes on an exercise bike and then just doing shoulder presses and bicep curls with dumbbells because that's what he told me to do. But that then got a little bit mundane. So then I evolved and I started going on a Smith machine, lat pull down machine, and so on and so forth. And I started to really enjoy the gym. And it flipped within a couple of weeks where I started to look forward to going. I'd never done that. And I did. And then I moved from the gym that I joined initially to Ribby Hall Village, which is where I go now and where I used to PT and where I still instruct spin nowadays. And it just evolved from there. 2 months into my weight loss journey, I started going to the gym twice a week. I don't think I've ever been to a gym less than twice, unless I've been on holiday or something like that, for the last 11 years. And those 2 days a week evolved into 3 days a week, 4 days a week. When I became a personal trainer, I started to train 6 days a week because I worked in the gym 6 days a week. And now it is still 6 days a week. And I literally go Monday to Friday, I do 15 minutes on a cross trainer, 30 minutes of various weights afterwards. And every Saturday morning, I teach spin. And, I started doing regular exercise at the start of my journey. It's changed over the years and I know a lot more and I'm a lot more experienced at what I'm doing. But yeah, started going twice a week at the start of my journey, go 5 to 6 times a week now. And I've been consistent with that over the last 11 years. I think that's it. I have read off a bit of a list that I've written and I thought there was one more. And I'm like, oh no, there isn't one more. So I'll do a little summary. Things that I started doing at the start of my weight loss journey that I still do now on a regular basis. And yes, all these things have evolved and have adapted and changed a little bit, but the basics are still there. Looking at calories, sticking to a calorie structure, having higher and lower calorie days, building in the foods that I genuinely love into my diet. Some of those foods are very high calorie, low nutrient dense. Some of those foods are very low calorie and high nutrient dense. Some are sat in the middle somewhere. It doesn't matter. I've always made it from the start of my weight loss journey a mission to enjoy the food that I am eating, right? But I've also made it a mission to never feel overly restricted or feel like I'm missing out on anything. And by building in the foods that I genuinely, absolutely love, that bring a massive smile to my face, I've built them in. The best thing is now I consume them with zero guilt because they all fit into my calorie allowance. High protein diet at the start of my journey for the wrong reasons. High protein diet now 11 years on for the right reasons. Nothing's changed about why a high protein diet worked, but my understanding has. And then in terms of longer term flexibility and sustainability, embracing and making sure I take weight loss breaks. And it's something I'm really conscious of with my clients. If I have clients that lose 6, 7 check-ins in a row, which is 12 to 14 weeks, I'm like, you've been in a calorie deficit 12 to 14 weeks. Let's start thinking about having a little weight loss break. Could be a maintenance week, could be a surplus week. Sometimes they just naturally happen. Like I say, you booked a week to Tenerife, you've got a weekend away, Easter bank holiday weekend or something like that. But you've got to accept that you have to have them, or you need to have them, or you should have them. Just like, no one goes, you're working Monday to Friday. I need to work at the weekend because I'll forget about how to work if I don't. No one says that, do they? You work Monday to Friday, well, most people do, and then you embrace and enjoy the weekend, and then you go back to work as normal. Your weight loss break is no different. You stick to a calorie deficit for 12 to 14 weeks, you have a week off, you should be able to go straight back into sticking to that calorie deficit if you're doing it in the right way, which is what this podcast is about. Daily walks, started doing them from the start as best as I could. Yes, I had severe mobility issues, but no excuses. If I could do one, I'd go for one. Sometimes I pushed through the pain barrier a little bit. I was consistent with it. That massively improved my mobility. Nothing's changed. Yes, we have more accountability now because we've got 2 doggos, and I definitely recommend you getting one of those. But even if I didn't, 2014, 2015, 2016, up till July 2017, so over 3 years, I still went for a daily walk before we even got a dog. So, whether you've got a dog or not, get yourself out for a daily walk. It's great for your physical health. It's great for your mental health. And it also does burn some calories, which means you can eat a bit more and still be in a good calorie deficit. And then regular exercise. I put way too much emphasis on exercise. The main benefits of exercise is physical and mental health. Yes, it does burn some calories, same as walking, but you don't do it that often and you won't actually burn as many as you think exercising. But it's something that I put into place and it's something that I do now. And like I say, it didn't cause all my weight loss, but what exercise has done is it's fixed what's going on up here. It has fixed what's going on in my head. And even now, I've had periods of time where I've had little operations here and there, like my skin removal operations and stuff like that, where I've not been able to exercise for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I've massively felt my mental health deteriorate. Not into pre-weight loss journey, Neil, where I was a manic depressive and on sertraline most of my adult life, but I have found it going downhill. As soon as I get back to the gym, as soon as I start training, it makes me feel $1 million. And the better you feel on this journey, the easier it is to start controlling everything and the more willpower you have. Anyway, there we go. That's it. Whatever you're doing on your weight loss journey now, you should be prepared to do it. The only thing that should change is the amount of calories you consume. That is it. So whatever you're doing now, if you're currently sinning food, you should still be wanting to sin food in 20 years. And if you don't, start taking a more healthier and sustainable approach to weight loss. And if you don't know how to do that, come see me, because that is what my one-to-one plan is all about. Right, that's it for now. Before I'm at the risk of waffling on for any longer, hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Please let me know in the comments if you have. And until next time, in whichever way you see me, make sure you are bossing your weight loss.